They thought they had won. They thought pushing me out of the company I had built, stripping my title, humiliating me in boardrooms, and parading my replacement in the press was the end of my story. What they didn't realize was that when they engineered me out, they planted the seed of their own destruction, and I made sure it bloomed. Horizon Dynamics wasn't just another tech firm. It was my life's work. I co-founded it in my 20s, armed with nothing but a laptop, a handful of investors, and the reckless ambition of youth. We were dreamers who coded through the night, who fought tooth and nail for every client. Over the years, Horizon grew from a cramped loft into a $400 million powerhouse. Our products kept Fortune 500 companies running, our software underpinned industries, and our name became synonymous with innovation. But power breeds envy. Success attracts vultures. And I was too blind, or maybe too arrogant, to see the knives circling. The first cuts came quietly. Whispers in board meetings about my volatile leadership. Questions about whether my creative style had outlived its usefulness. Suggestions that perhaps Horizon had outgrown me. At first, I dismissed them. I thought my record spoke for itself, that the empire I had built was proof enough. But my rivals weren't aiming for truth. They were aiming for perception. They engineered a coup with precision. My co-founder, once my closest ally, turned cold. Investors were swayed with promises of stability. And when the final vote came, I was out. The boardroom erupted with polite applause as they announced my resignation, applause that stabbed deeper than any knife. I walked out of Horizon's glass tower with nothing but a box of belongings and the taste of betrayal thick in my throat. I told myself to move on, to start over, to build again. But bitterness is not so easily silenced. Every morning, I saw Horizon's logo glowing on skyscrapers, heard Victor Drake, the man they chose to replace me, spewing rehearsed optimism on television, watched as my life's work was paraded as someone else's achievement. And that's when I decided, if they had engineered me out, I would engineer their end. Revenge doesn't come in one stroke. It's a game of patience, of careful moves. Horizon thought they had erased me, but they had forgotten something crucial. No one knew the bones of that company better than I did. I had written the architecture of our core systems myself, lines of code that pulse like arteries through every platform. They thought they had shut me out, but ghosts linger in old frameworks, and I had left behind a map only I could read. The floor was small, almost elegant, a loophole in the synchronization module I had coded years ago. Not a bug, not a security hole, just a forgotten corner where the system trusted too much. And through that blind spot, I slipped in, unnoticed, unseen. For months, I studied them from the shadows. I traced their contracts, their product launches, their desperate attempt to prove they could thrive without me. Horizon's biggest prize was a $93 million contract with Alios Global, a logistics giant. If Horizon delivered, they would cement themselves as leaders for a decade. If they failed, well, that would be another story. I decided to write that story. The sabotage wasn't reckless. It wasn't about crashing servers in some dramatic blaze. That would have been too obvious, too traceable. No, I wanted Horizon to unravel slowly, to collapse under the weight of their own arrogance. I injected just enough misdirection into their system that data began to drift, subtly corrupting over time. Delivery schedules scrambled, financial reports failed to reconcile, shipments went missing in digital space, and Horizon, blind to the infection, kept assuring Alios that everything was under control. At first, the glitches were dismissed as minor errors, but as weeks passed, the cracks widened. Alios executives grew restless. Every patch Horizon deployed seemed to make things worse. By the third month, millions had been lost in delays and penalties. Alios threatened to terminate the contract, demanding explanations Horizon couldn't give. I watched from a distance, savoring every headline. Horizon Dynamics faces client backlash. Alios Global halts partnership talks. Investors who once applauded Victor's leadership now demanded answers. Horizon's stock plummeted. The empire I had built and they had stolen was now burning before the world's eyes. When the $93 million contract was officially terminated, it was a death blow. Alios sued for damages, shareholders revolted, and Horizon spiraled into chaos. The same board that had smiled while pushing me out now scrambled to salvage the wreckage, their carefully engineered coup dissolving in public humiliation. And I sat in a quiet cafe, coffee steaming before me, reading the news on my phone with a calm satisfaction I cannot describe. I hadn't shouted. I hadn't marched into their offices to gloat. I had whispered into their machine, and the whisper had grown into a storm that swallowed them whole. But revenge is never clean. In the quiet of the night, doubt gnawed at me. Horizon collapse didn't just destroy Victor Drake or the traitorous board. It took jobs, livelihoods, futures. People who had once cheered for me now faced unemployment because I couldn't let go of my rage. I told myself it was justice, that they were collateral in a war I hadn't started. Yet part of me knew the truth. My hands weren't clean. Still, the board never suspected me. To them, the collapse was a tragic failure of leadership, a reminder that without me, Horizon could never survive. Ironically, they became the authors of their own narrative. The genius founder they betrayed had been the glue all along. The market remembered me not as a man they ousted, but as the one whose absence destroyed them. And maybe that was the sweetest revenge of all. I don't tell this story to brag. I tell it as a warning. Betrayal cuts deep, but vengeance cuts deeper. They engineered me out, and I engineered their $93 million meltdown. Checkmate.